So in my view, when mindfulness or compassion are in full bloom, full compassion, full mindfulness, they are both there, you know. That's to say, for compassion, you need suffering, but when you're fully mindful in the face of suffering, you will be fully compassionate. If you're also fully compassionate, your heart is like really open, your attention will be open, your awareness will be refined, you will be mindful. This is in the absolute state or in a very high level of compassion and mindfulness. But most of us are just not there. We live kind of ordinary lives. And so, you know, we feel this, you know, we feel aversion, we feel grasping, we feel confused. There's just like basically the mind is, you might say, infiltrating our mindfulness, our compassion. So that's at the relative level. And at the relative level, I think it's really important to know the differences, some of the differences between mindfulness and compassion, so that you can know how and when to apply it. And I think that's especially relevant for us right now in this group. So mindfulness can be described as loving awareness of moment-to-moment experience, loving awareness of experience. And self-compassion is loving awareness of the experiencer. In other words, the sentient being. And if you've been practicing in the wisdom tradition, most people kind of choke on that a little bit, because we know that the sense of self is the source of untold, unnecessary suffering. So aren't we reifying the self when we say self-compassion? I'll get to this in a little while, but my experience is, and lots of people's experience, is that both compassion and mindfulness dismantle the self, but they do it in a different way. Mindfulness diminishes the rigidity of the self, but they do it in a different way. Mindfulness dismantles the self by breaking down our experience moment to moment, or by looking at the machinery of perception. Compassion dissolves the self. And we all know this. Like if you have had a real bad problem and you're struggling and you're ruminating, and somebody comes up to you and gives you a hug, and you really feel connected and understood, isn't it so that your anguish begins to subside, your preoccupation diminishes, and you can begin to see things clearly again, right? This is how compassion works. It actually dissolves the self through warmth, right? One dismantles, one dissolves. So both diminish the dominance of the sense of self. Mindfulness asks, what do I know? Or what am I experiencing now? That's the question, mindful question, what's happening? Self-compassion asks the question, what do I need? What do I need? This is really quite different. If you're really struggling and somebody looks at you and says, oh, I'm so sorry for what you're going through, what do you need? And not just leave it at that. What can I do for you? So that's really what compassion is about. Compassion is about responding to a person's need when they're suffering, and also taking action. So the self-compassion question is, what do I need? Mindfulness is, what am I experiencing, or what do I know? Another interesting difference is in emotion regulation. So the mindfulness has been in the academic literature, particularly the psychological literature, since like maybe the beginning, 1989, 1990, so like 30 years, Compassion has really only been around much for 10 years or 15 years, more like 10. But both have been found to be powerful for emotion regulation. But they seem to work differently. Mindfulness regulates emotion through attention regulation, which is what are we paying attention to, and how are we paying attention to it? Spacious, focus. What is the quality of your awareness? Mindfulness regulates emotion through attention regulation, whereas compassion regulates emotion through care and connection. Care and connection, and they're a little different. Connection is the awareness that I'm not alone. That's a powerful emotion regulation insight. And care, which is warmth and goodwill. So when we experience warmth and goodwill, we downregulate difficult emotions. Okay? What's interesting too is that actually the brain is only fully online for attention regulation when we're 27. Whereas, and probably also for emotion regulation, to be honest, but other people have been regulating our emotions since birth through care and connection. So what we're doing with self-compassion is actually tapping this fundamental way of regulating emotion that we are familiar with since birth. So we have access to this. You will find that people who are very good at compassion for others, they might not actually be particularly compassionate to themselves, but if they want to, they can do it really well because they know how to be compassionate. So then it's just a question of redirecting that quality of care and connection.